My dear, the silence you hide behind speaks louder than words. You do care, even when you don't show it. You do care, but you're afraid to feel. You do care, and it's written in every look you try to avoid. You do care, but you don't know how to let love in. I know you do care, even in your silence. You do care, but your pride won't let you admit it. You do care, though you pretend like it doesn't matter. The way you hold back says everything. I know you care. You do care, but you're too scared to show it. Behind every fight, I know you care more than you let on. You do care, even when your actions say the opposite. You do care. It's just hidden beneath the weight of unspoken words. You do care. Why else would you be so afraid to lose me? You do care, even if you're trying to convince yourself otherwise. You care, but you've been hurt too much to trust it anymore. You do care. It's there in the way you keep coming back. You do care, but you fear what loving me might mean. Your eyes reveal the truth. No matter how much you try to hide it, you care. You do care, even when your heart says it's over. You care, but you're running from what you truly feel. You do care, and I see it in the quiet moments between us. You care more than you admit, and it hurts to hide it. You do care, but you're terrified of what it might mean for your heart. You care, but you're too afraid to let it show. You do care, even if you won't say it aloud. You do care, and it lingers in the way your hand brushes mine. You do care, but fear has you locked in a cage. You care, even when you try to push me away. You do care, and the way your gaze softens says it all. You do care, even when you're afraid of how deep it runs. You care, but you hold back to protect yourself. You do care, even if you can't admit it yet. Your actions speak louder than your words. You do care. You do care, and I see it in the way you remember little things about me. You care so deeply, but you're afraid of what that might mean. You do care, even when you act like you don't. You care, and it's in every word left unspoken between us. You do care, even when you act indifferent. You care more than you realize, even if you're trying to forget. You do care, and that's why you keep pushing me away. You care deeply, but you bury it under layers of pride. You do care, and your heart is too big to ignore it. You care in a way that's raw, unspoken, and terrifying. You do care, and it breaks you every time you try to deny it. You care, but you hide it behind walls of fear. You do care, and it's written in the way your eyes follow me. You care more than I think you're willing to admit. You do care, but you're so afraid of being hurt again. You care, but you don't know how to show it without feeling vulnerable. You do care, and that's why it hurts so much when you pull away. You do care, but you don't know how to express it. You care deeply, yet you run from it with every step you take. You do care, but you're scared it won't be enough. You care so much, but you hide it to protect yourself. You do care, even when you try to push me away with your words. You care so much, and it's crushing you to keep it hidden. You do care, and the tension between us says everything. You care more than you know, but you're afraid of what that means. You do care, and that's why the distance hurts you so much. You care, but you fear the vulnerability that comes with it. You do care, and the way your voice shakes betrays you. You care, but you don't want to admit how much you're hurting. You do care, but you're too proud to let it show. You care, but you're too afraid to speak it out loud. You do care, and I see it in the way you hesitate. You care deeply, even when you act like you don't. You do care, and it's in the way you linger in my presence. You care, but you're trying to protect your heart from getting hurt. You do care, and it's in every thoughtful thing you do for me. You care more than words can say, but you keep hiding it. You do care, even when you're trying to let go. You care, but you're afraid of what happens when you admit it. You do care, and it's the fear of being hurt that holds you back. You care deeply, but you're not sure how to handle it. You do care, and it's woven into every glance you give me. You care, and that's why you push me away. You do care, and your heart trembles with every word unsaid. You care more than you'll ever let on. You do care, and it stings to keep pretending otherwise. You care, and it's tearing you apart inside. You do care, but fear keeps you silent. You care, and that's why it's so hard to let go. You do care, but you've been hurt too many times to trust it. You care more than you admit, but your heart is locked away. You do care, but you push it down because it's easier. You care, and it's both beautiful and terrifying at once.